Gunn's approach to pre-existing canon at the dawn of the DCU Chapter 1 is simple. Anything explicitly depicted or referenced on screen going forward is back in play. Everything else is not.
If the Suicide Squad is like part of it, that means that Harley Quinn, you know, the Margot Robbie version of Harley Quinn maybe is canonized in this. So does that canonize like Birds of Prey? The first Suicide Squad, Jared Leto Joker.
It really depends on how much you want to like take those like that framing like in actuality, right? Like how far back does it go?
Welcome back to the break room. Amanda Waller loves creating covert task force, doesn't she? It's her favorite thing to do. Today we're talking about the first 2 episodes of Creature Commandos. Hit that graphic.
I forgot to get it made.
There's not a graphic.
There's nothing. Hit nothing.
Hit nothing. I'm Brandon Barrick. Joining me today, she comes from a secret lair deep beneath the earth. It's Gina Ippolito.
There's so many cats in that lair.
So many cats. Also joining us today, he's the most human among us. It's Evan Yee.
Ooh, some days I wake up on the other side of the bed feeling like Frankenstein's monster.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you calling him Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
In the text, he's referred to as the creature, which is a better title.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
It's all Universal's
People got
fault.
confused over the years, like they do.
It's Universal's fault because they called the movie Frankenstein and then The Bride of Frankenstein, and it kind of really set the standard.
But The Bride of Frankenstein was actually Frankenstein's bride-to-be.
Yes.
Who died, so she was still Dr. Victor Frankenstein's bride. But people got confused.
Yeah. We'll suss it all out.
We'll suss it all out.
This show is the official launch of James Gunn and Peter Safran's DCU. But what does this show about a ragtag group of monsters have to do with the upcoming DC universe? And does it work? I don't know. We're going to get into it. Let's talk about it today. But before we do, we want to remind you to check out nerdriot.shop for all the latest and greatest in new Rockstars merch. I'm wearing this old school villain shirt. I think it's still available on the site, maybe.
There's some Breakroom hats, there's some Breakroom sweatshirts.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff coming up for the holidays soon.
Yeah, it's not too late.
Comfy Breakroom hoodie.
Oh, yeah.
It's like slightly too big for me, so I can lounge around in it.
Evan, someone on Twitter tagged me because they bought a Breakroom hoodie because I was wearing it.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's very comfy.
I'm an influencer.
Yeah, you are. You're gonna check your other box on Instagram because I guarantee you have a lot of people wanting you to sell their gold jewelry.
That's
what they always come to me for.
I'm an influencer. I'm gonna make so many opening videos. You're gonna love it.
God.
Hey, and right now, from the bottom of my heart, the Breakroom is almost at 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Ooh.
Time is flying by. If you're in the YouTube chat right now and you're not subscribed, we're begging you to subscribe. Do us a favor, hit that button. It really helps out the channel.
Yeah.
It helps us grow.
Also, John Costa has said he will do literally anything.
Oh, no.
He's already gone on record. I've already said that Evan will either put an entire bottle of hot sauce in his mouth or up his butt.
Ew, no.
Maybe both.
No.
Someone's getting the hot sauce, but
we'll do anything. Apparently.
No. I saw John once.
Promises are made.
John once shotgunned a Bang energy drink, and it was the most insane thing I ever saw, and he almost died.
someone's gonna be doing something stupid, and it will be suggested by you guys, but only if we hit 100.
I'm gonna force John to drink a bottle of water because I think that's what he needs to do.
Oh yeah.
That's not exciting.
Water drinking challenge.
Yeah. Okay, these first 2 episodes of Creatures Commandos, let's talk about them. In the first one, we meet Rick Flag Sr. and Amanda Waller as they form the new Task Force X, the Creature Commandos, if you will. Introducing us to the team, we've got Dr. Phosphorus, Weasel, The Bride, G.I. Robot, and Nina Mazursky.
Also, really quick, so we have a picture of the team. It's interesting to see how they've changed from the official launch of it. So that's that old picture. Yeah, this was the original picture, right? And then this is the poster that they came out with.
They sexied them up. They sexied them up.
Yeah.
It's really fun to note that, like, I feel like in the first picture, Rick Flag Sr. looks more like J.K. Simmons, looks a little bit younger, and then now in this new picture, he still has the white and black hair. So you're like, why does he have white hair in the show? It's because Frank Grillo didn't want to dye his hair black.
Oh.
Because he was doing another show, and he's like, I can't. When he was filming Peacemakers, he's
okay.
like, I can't dye my hair black, and it won't work for the other show, and I can't do it for Peacemaker.
It is. Isn't he too young to be I don't know. I think
Yeah,
it's
like the math is like a little tough, but maybe young father.
I don't know. I like the green Dr. Phosphorus though more than like the orange.
Yeah,
one. I like that. I think that's a cool effect, and I think it's really neat.
Yeah.
So this team, they're assembled to help stop the conflict that's going on in Pakistan, not a real country. Don't worry if you freaked out because you've never heard of it before. This is a country that's existed in DC Comics before. And what's going on? There's a conflict there where an Amazonian sorceress known as Circe is leading the Sons of Themyscira on attack against this unmined country. There's Circe there. There they need to protect the princess of Pakistan, who is really into Rick Flag.
Who wouldn't be into that guy? I mean, seriously.
I mean, we saw his bulge in the tidy whities.
I mean, it's everything. It's that two-toned hair. They give him the most muscles.
They did give him a lot of muscles. Pakistan is the home of the bride. It's where she was born. And Frankenstein's monster, who we're going to call Eric Frankenstein. That's his name. Frankenstein, they're both from Pakistan. So the bride returns to her birthplace with Nina tagging along, and we get very tragic and very Poor Things-esque backstory of the bride as she's getting beaten down by Circe. And Frankenstein, what a creepo, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of both of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I guess you don't really know how exactly her and the doctor ended up like getting together, but also it is very I wrote Poor Things into the script because if you haven't seen the movie with Emma Stone last year, it's very similar kind of like narrative going on as far as just like these a professor or doctor teaching a kind of like newly born person in like an adult woman body. Very interesting.
Yeah, and I don't think like James Gunn was taking. I think he wrote this before that movie even came out. He was working on this project, I believe, before he was elevated to the position he's in now.
Yes.
Yeah, and animation takes 90 years to do.
And this is like classic Frankenstein-esque storytelling.
Yes, exactly.
Those were the first two episodes. Oh, and episode 2 does end with the bride and Nina getting knocked down and presumably captured by the Sons of Themyscira. So we'll see where that goes in the next episode. But before we get into our questions, how did everyone feel about these first 2 episodes? Our first introduction into our new DCU.
I really liked him. I love this animation style. Also, like, God, I'm such a huge Dr. Phosphorus, what's his name?
Alan Tudyk?
Alan Tudyk fan. Like, you can put Alan Tudyk in anything and have him voice him, and I'm like, oh, yeah, yes. All the voice acting is great, maybe with the exception of, you know who I'm going to say.
We'll get into it.
Maybe with the exception of people related to the Doctor.
Sean Gunn, James Gunn brothers, doing 2 voices on this show. He's doing Weasel, of course. He's reprising that. This is the same Weasel from the Suicide Squad.
They should have just stuck in with Weasel, because you can't tell that's him.
He's also doing G.I. Robot. Alan Tudyk is, of course, voicing Dr. Phosphorus, but it's also been announced he'll be voicing Clayface, who we know will show up in this series.
Yeah, we got a little tease of Clayface in some of the trailers, I think.
He also voices Clayface on Harley Quinn. A very different version of Clayface.
Do 2 very different vibes. This is why he's so brilliant, because he can do. But I think he's so good in this. I think I love Indira Varma also.
She's great.
Ever since like the Rome days, which if you don't know, Rome was Game of Thrones before there was a Game of Thrones.
Indira Varma is the voice of the bride, and I think she's doing the best job on the show. She's so good. The voice cast is great. I love this animation style. I love that it's different. You know, like for a while it felt like a lot of animated shows had used sort of like samey animation. I like that this is different. Also, the action sequences slap. There's a pretty good fight sequence. The firefight kind of between Phosphorus and Rick Flag.
That was great. And then also the bride and Eric fighting through the centuries.
Oh, that was so cool.
Was so good.
Yeah, that was great.
Like just such a great, and their whole style and all the Easter eggs in there that Eric did like a great job of breaking down. God, I love it. Yeah.
Also,
really great fight scenes.
I really love that, like jumping through time, because it establishes like why this character can fight.
Yes.
You know, why
she's so
talented, because she just lived for so long and had to fight off this like wild dude who's been chasing her for years and years and years.
Also, listen, let's get real here for a second. I'm sure it's a lot of dudes in the chat, so you might not like this section. But, you know, every woman who has had the message "hey" for 10 years in a row from the same guy who you never respond to in your other Instagram folder, and it's just like, hey, Hey, how are you? 6 months later, hey, hi there, how are you? And it just goes on for a decade.
Yeah.
Understands what it's like to be chased by the same dude you want nothing to do with.
Yeah.
But except over a period of several hundred years. I like that they blew this whole phenomena out into like, hey, we know guys are persistent. They'll be persistent for 1,000 years if they want to be.
Yeah, Frankenstein OG reply guy.
I mean, Eric Frankenstein is a problem, yes.
Yeah.
But it's all really Victor Frankenstein's fault, right?
Yeah, he
builds Eric Frankenstein, and then he ostensibly builds a woman for him.
Yeah.
And Frankenstein, with his simple brain, is like, this woman's for me. That's your whole whole purpose the bride exists is seemingly to be a mate for Eric Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
He should have sat his little boy Eric down, made him watch a few seasons of like The Handmaid's Tale, maybe some Buffy in there, maybe some Alias, some strong women protagonists written by men.
Maybe the film Boyhood would have been helpful.
Yeah.
And I will say that kind of thing. The Bride, of course, was created by Universal for a sequel to the Frankenstein movie they made, The Bride of Frankenstein. And in that movie, when the bride is like awoken, and Frankenstein immediately like goes up to her and she's like, and like hates Frankenstein. So that's like classic Universal storytelling.
He needed to hang back and slow. You know what he needed to do? He needed to slide into her DMs first and not send a picture, and he needed to establish a rapport.
You should listen too. Listen. Take a moment and listen.
You mentioning Boyhood, now I just like can't shake the idea in my head of them doing some like spin-off movie where it's David Harbour and Dira Varma in full Frankenstein and the bride makeup doing a before midnight, just walk and talk about all their problems for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
That'd be incredible.
Maybe if we'd met each other at different times in our lives.
Evan, what are
we met each
your
other in the 1500s.
Evan, what are your overall thoughts of this?
Yeah, I mean, echoing just everything you guys have said, I really like. I actually, to just like specify like the action scenes, I think like having watched Invincible, having been watching a lot of anime, so that's been like my main kind of like fallback on like violent animation, and it was nice to see like this take on it being very different and also, like, the first 2 episodes feel very consistent, right? Like, Invincible makes they do that in-show gag where they're like, we need to save money and blah, 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 and this, like this. And I'm sure there's aspects of, like, how they changed the animation style, but it felt very, like, the same show. Just very, and I was like, oh, I really appreciate that. And obviously, 2-episode premiere, they want to do, like, hit with a big... make a big splash, but I think it was very successful.
I really liked kind of like the music in it too.
I can't get the music. I just keep like humming the theme song the last 2 days. Like,
there's the show. The first 2 episodes features like very interesting bands that have like kind of European inspired like punk sound to them.
And that's James Gunn's whole thing.
He's
like, I'm gonna find the perfect music for each scene.
There's like the I believe the band that does the song over the credits of the first episode is like a Norwegian or Finnish kind of folk punk rock band, and then this Go-Go Bordello or something that does a few songs and actually has a cameo during the montage sequence. Like that American Wedding song, I added that to my Spotify.
Spotify.
Have you ever been to an American wedding? Where's the pickle wedding? It's like that's great. So like I kind of love this. When they're not using the usual music, because I think the trailer for it had. A rock song that we've all heard before that is kind of like the same thing. But I like kind of like surprising us with that. And that's kind of been James Gunn's thing. He makes great soundtracks. Like he knows how to have fun with that.
He goes in and he says, listen, I'm going to need an $8 million music budget.
And I like how we're jumping around in time a little bit. I thought the show would be maybe like Monster of the Week, like them having a differem mission every week, but it seems like it's going to be one long mission, kind of.
We'll get it. There was a coming up on this season trailer that we'll get into a little bit later. But it does. I think you're right. Yeah.
And clearly, we can't trust the princess. Like something's up.
Something's
up. Also, you saw the bride clock it during that dinner when she's like, "Oh right, mom," and then like mom's like, and the bride's like,
And Rick Flag is clearly a moron, just like his son.
No, he just wants to get it. He turned her down once.
It would have worked on me, I'm sure.
Where'd you get this scar from, Brandon? I was on a Disneyland ride, and my arm hit one of the little statues from It's a Small World.
Dude, I'm begging to get injured on a Disneyland ride. Please. And Disney, I don't want money. I just want access.
What about this one? one, Brandon. That was another Disneyland
I want to move
ride.
into 21 Royale at Disneyland
Oh my God.
and get that Club 33 for free.
God.
Okay? You can take an arm. Don't take my legs. Take an arm. Give me a hook hand. Captain Hook's hand.
Ah, there we
That
go.
should be your first demand when you sue.
Yeah, Captain Hook's hand.
Look, I'm not here for money. I just want the fried chicken from the Plaza Inn. One of our sponsors this week is Via, makers of premium federally legal cannabis products. This holiday season, unwind and recharge with Via. Whether you're enjoying a quiet evening at home or embracing the festive cheer, Via's premium THC and THC-free gummies will help you find your perfect holiday balance. I, for one, am looking forward to treating myself to an Elevate gummy over the holidays and burrowing into a nice Yule log, a delicious chocolate treat for myself. All of Via's products are grown indoors and in state-of-the-art facilities and harvested at peak THCA levels to emphasize a natural flavor and aroma. They add strains to their selection every week, so there's always something new to check out. Via has THC and THC-free gummies, vapes, topicals, and drops, all of which are crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. Plus, Via legally ships to nearly all states in the United States in discreet packaging directly to your door, worry-free guarantee. No medical card required. This holiday season, gift yourself some peace of mind. If you're 21 or over, check out the link in our description below for Via. For a limited time during the holidays, Via is offering 25% off site-wide, plus up to 50% off select items and bundles. And if you're hearing this ad post-sale, you can still save by using code BREAKROOM for 25% off. After you purchase, they ask you where you heard about them. Let them know that the Breakroom sent you. This holiday season, enhance your everyday with Via.
Marky Mark 9520, bringing up something that I think a lot of people are thinking about, asking who would win in a fight, Suicide Squad or Creature Commandos. Also, it is hard to not watch this show without thinking of the Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Like, there is clearly like this aspect of like ragtag group of misfits, monsters. In one of his interviews, I believe with Josh Horowitz on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, James Gunn said he wants to like strip away the sentimentality where he's like, Guardians is super hopeful. This one, we're not doing that. Really interested to see how it's going to shift, because right now it does feel like it's kind of the same, right? Like there's that fight where, Dr. Foster's trying to get the button and he's like, we're on the same team. Like, I don't want to use this on you guys. You know?
Yeah, and it is directly connected, right? Amanda Waller referenced that's Project Starfish or whatever. Yeah. The facility that they're at looks exactly like it does in the Suicide Squad, that kind of building over the ground or whatever.
I've got to give a slight edge to Creature Commandos. I think like some of them being undead or whatever they are, like that's always going to give you
How do you fight
an
Dr.
edge.
Phosphorus? I mean,
like I think
Harley Quinn's not going to be able to beat Dr. Phosphorus, I
think that's going to give you an edge over human beings and even over enhanced human beings.
Yeah, I mean, the point about the bride being alive for so long and just having like a lot of institutional knowledge in how to fight.
Yeah, and she's smarter than anyone on the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, G.I. Robot seems to have no problem killing anyone he thinks is a Nazi.
Yeah. I don't know how durable he is.
Yeah, speaking of, Garrett Bridges saying, love the first 2 episodes. Can't wait to explore all these characters in live action projects. G.I. Robot's live action movie is going to be absolutely insane. Imagine, right? Like a lot of these characters, as a reminder, like could cross over into live action in the way that we've seen them. Obviously, Frank Grillo's already going to do that as Rick Flag Sr. But that would be wild, right? And
and seeing the bride and Frankenstein during their montage, they were in World War II, so we know G.I. Robot was like somewhere.
Yeah.
And the Creature Commandos, I believe, were originally created to be a force during like World War II, I think, in the comics. That was like their kind of first iteration. They were the Howling Commandos, if you will, of DC. So yeah, it would be interesting if they did kind of a live action during World War II, what was going on.
Yeah. And it's like, just thinking, I mean, like, I think it's really, your mileage may vary on like whether or not the DCU should have started with this animated show. Like there's already, comments on yesterday's breakdown being like, I didn't even know this show was coming out, right? Yeah. People still are going to view Superman as a thing, but it's so cool to see that and hear him talk about how he's like, I want to do this show and I want to do it in animation because it's the only way to do it justice. Like there's definitely a live action version of this that doesn't work as well because of pure budgetary things for the characters.
I think there's a weird contingency of people contingent of people who like write off animation, even if it's adult animation.
100%, yeah.
I don't understand it, and I think people should get over it because like truly, I think
you should give it a chance.
The best writing on TV is in animation, in adult animation, and if the only difference is that you're not watching like something in live action, like if this was in live action, people would be like, "Oh, this slaps. This is awesome." So I don't have a problem with it. I think Max did not do a good job of promoting it.
Yeah.
I also don't know how people promote things anymore, like since there's not really regular TV that people are watching, but you know, Amazon seems to shove everything in our face every time they have a new season of something. So
they have billions of dollars.
Get on it, Creature Commandos team. Start tweeting from the Creature Commandos.
Yeah, they did.
Like
and again,
boys do.
This is the first DCU project just because of that's how it worked out. This was already in the works.
Yeah.
You know, so it just kind of happened that this was going to come out even if the DCEU was still going. Like this show was going to come out. So
Yeah.
it's kind of by default, but it is an interesting way to start. Again, it's connecting to The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker because Amanda Waller shows up in there, and they even reference in the show like Rick Flag says, "Aren't you not allowed to do this anymore?" And that's why they're using monsters because of the events of Peacemaker. At the end of that series, spoiler alert, Amanda Waller's daughter releases all the information about the Suicide Squad and Project X, and so that's why she's using monsters. It's a loophole to get around using humans as these.
I like the fact that the DCEU is trying to connect everything, because I think for the longest time one of their main problems was like if you were like me and you were watching Arrow and Supergirl and all those other ones, they didn't connect in any way really to the movie. There might have been like a mention every now and then of like this thing happened, but they were so far connected from the movies. And now I like the fact that even in this adult animated series, they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna connect it to movies, we're gonna connect it to TV shows. I think that's what the DCEU needs.
Yeah.
Evan got eaten.
Oh, Evan disappeared.
Evan's been turned into Dr. Phosphorus.
Dr. Phosphorus. I am smiling. That you can't tell that.
He's so good.
Very great. Well, one thing we should talk about with this show, as again we're venturing into the DCU, is what does Creature Commandos make canon so far for the DCU? Gunn said in a Happy, Sad, Confused podcast that he wants to embrace the freedom of telling Elseworld stories, so it's easy to imagine that the new DCU will, quote, live alongside, end quote, some of the events that have happened, especially with all the chaos caused by The Flash. And in The Flash.
Yeah, and to clarify, the live alongside is not a quote from James Gunn. But just
I'm
like
sorry.
the what like could live alongside,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, I think he likes the freedom to tell Elseworld stories, right? So it's very interesting to think like to use that as a frame, as like context for when we're thinking about what could be canon from the original DCU, right? Like there's this weird, it could be like, you know, some type of divergence point or whatever. Like it'll be interesting to see how much they reference it, if at all.
To me, this is very what ify. If it is to the DCU, what if is to the MCU, which is like, you know, obviously the events in the MCU really happen in What If, but it's more of like a it's
in a different universe.
But it ties into other events we've seen and that might happen and that loop in. So yeah, I think it'll loosely tie in as much as James Gunn wants it to.
Yeah, 100%. And then so per Leon Miller on Polygon, Gunn's approach to pre-existing canon at the dawn of the DCU Chapter 1 is simple. Anything explicitly depicted or referenced on screen going forward is back in play. Everything else is not. And also we know that, you know, obviously they're referencing events in Peacemaker, right, as we just said earlier. But he has said that Justice League scene is not canon.
Yeah,
We're going to explain it, you know? And the kind of like, you know, obstacle or like just the hoops you're going to have to jump through to make that work, I'm so interested in seeing.
Yeah.
I think they'll just show like Peacemaker was actually smoking crack or meth or something like that, and just having a vision, something weird like that. So should we talk about some of the things that we kind of saw that could be canonized here?
Yeah.
Right? So they have obviously canonized The Suicide Squad, the film James Gunn did. Rick Flag Jr.'s death is real.
Yeah.
Rick Flag references that. Weasel, you know, having been on the almost drowned and not liking being on these planes because they had to strap him in.
Survive at the very end.
Yeah. But so if the Suicide Squad is like part of it, that means that Harley Quinn, the Margot Robbie version of Harley Quinn, maybe is canonized in this. Mm-hmm. So does that canonize like Birds of Prey, the first Suicide Squad, Jared Leto Joker?
It really depends on how much you want to take those that framing in actuality, right? Like how far back does it go? Like could they still use a different actress playing Harley Quinn but having experienced all of those events?
Right. Just kind of recast. Like I'm sure they would love to have Margot Robbie come back as Harley Quinn. That's been maybe one of the most successful things to come out of the DCEU. 100%. Like well received by fans. They also have they have a Harley Quinn show going on right now with Kaylee Cuoco.
That would not have been made if Margot Robbie didn't make the character so popular.
Exactly.
And that show is great on its own, and I don't think they should try and bring that in, especially because Alan Tudyk is Clayface on that. He's a very different,
and that's
surely Clayface.
That is, that's more of like a satire. Of the whole
and I
thing,
think that should live on its own.
Yeah.
If they want to have like a funny little. During something, they whip pan over and they have live action like Lake Bell, Kaylee Cuoco standing there, Alan Tudyk. That would just be a fun little gag.
Really
but I don't think we need to.
By the way, it is one of my favorite shows.
It's very funny.
Watch at least the first season of the animated Harley Quinn. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's very likable. A lot of fun and very different type of animation and kind of like storytelling.
But I think Margot Robbie has said that she wants that iteration of Harley Quinn to be something that other actresses can pick up or actors can pick up. Moving forward.
Right.
So, and it seems like, she's busy producing now too, right? And not just acting. It would be really interesting to see if she could come back. But
I feel like her story got really well resolved too by the end of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
She kind of found her way and I don't know.
I think they should bring her back at like the exact optimal time when you least expect it.
Yeah. She you hear a voice, on your left!
On your left, Mr. J!
But so if it is the same version of Harley, though, there was the Birds of Prey movie. James Gunn did mention Huntress recently in the same Happy, Sad, Confused interview, saying that he wants to prop up lesser characters, in the DCU. Seems like that's kind of been his whole with the Guardians of the Galaxy. But he feels more. It seems like he feels more at home with the DC characters, and it's like let's get other lesser known characters like Huntress back. Could Mary Elizabeth Winstead come back as Huntress? That's an interesting one. I think that maybe they'll do a new take on that character.
Maybe I liked her turn as Huntress in I really liked Birds of Prey. I like Huntress better than Hera in Acolyte. So I don't know. Bring her back in that.
That's true.
And I think James Gunn is smart. It's very smart to use these kind of lesser known characters. DC has a much deeper history than Marvel. It was around for a lot longer. And also, I think a lot of the MCU's success was because they had to start with lesser known characters. They didn't have Spider-Man.
Right.
They didn't have the Fantastic Four. They didn't have the X-Men.
Yeah.
And if they had started today, they would have all those characters and they would probably make those movies.
Yeah.
But having to kind of build up lesser known characters, especially for the audience, I don't read a ton of DC. I always read much more Marvel. So a lot of this Creature Commando stuff is new to me, and it's fun kind of meeting these newer characters and their backstories.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so, oh man, I truly, because I feel like there's just so many possibilities it could go, and it's so interesting to see how Creature Commandos is going to use their 7 episodes, right? To
only 7.
Reflect on what's coming up.
Wow.
One of the other things we want to talk about was Circe and Themyscira. How they introduced Themyscira, this maybe real nation of Themyscira.
Yeah, Jake Tapper, part of the Warner Media Group, was pulled in for this one. He was
probably delighted to do it.
Yeah, probably. He was on, his network was GBS, which did exist in the DCEU. Yeah. So I don't think it's the exact same one. It's just a DC Comics thing. But he even says maybe real, maybe not real, which is just funny to think.
Yeah.
Does this world, this DCU not have a Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah. I mean, they could, even when Wonder Woman was active in the Justice League and everything, she was on the outs with the Amazonians because they were like, bitch, we're supposed to be secret.
You blew up our spy. You brought Steve Trevor. What are you doing?
They didn't. So they were annoyed that she might get them out from undercover. It's very similar to Wakanda, right? Sort of being hidden and secret, and then one person being like, hey, we shouldn't be hidden and secret anymore, and everyone else being like, man, I don't wanna.
And we know that James Gunn has plans to do a Themyscira kind of base show that they described as like Game of Thrones, but it's supposed to be kind of pre-Wonder Woman, like the kind of like the history
of it. Yeah, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like, do you want James Gunn to spend time kind of like redoing origin stories with these characters?
I mean, I think that there's like, you don't need to like if you're a regular Breakroom watcher, you know, I'm a big Doctor Who nerd, and like at any given time there's multiple doctors, you know, alive on the earth because they're constantly time traveling. I don't think he needs to get into the weeds of like, okay, if I set this like in 2005, where is Wonder Woman at this time and what is she doing? I think you don't even need to address it. And like, I think that there will be nerds who are like, well, where are they? And it's just like off fighting. Like they're somewhere fighting. Like they're on other missions. They don't, I don't know where my friends are at all times. You guys.
You're not checking Find My Friends all the time?
You don't look at the map on Snapchat to see where everybody's at?
Open up the Apple AirTags that I sent you already.
I kind of like the idea, you know, Marvel with the MCU, it was kind of like the world getting introduced to heroes with like Iron Man and then aliens and then, you know, there's invasions. And now we joke that like the poor people of the MCU, like every day is a nightmare for them. I kind of like the idea of a DCU where it's like you have Circe on the news flying around shooting magic, right? But they're not sure if Themyscira is real or not.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of like, well, we're so inundated with heroes in this universe. We know that the Superman movie is going to feature tons of like different heroes and an already established Justice League. So I kind of like that we're jumping into this universe kind of in media res. Like they're already dealing with all this BS and like they're tired and they've got all the cities we know, plus they've got all the made up cities of the DCU. Their Earth is twice the size of ours. It's just like annoying. You know?
I'm sure there's like rumors about where Batman came from. Like people are probably like, did he come
He's an alien, right?
Is he from Batland? Is there a hidden land of bats?
Batland. Oh my god. Oh man,
they don't know what to believe.
I think James Gunn was saying, he's like, I'm tired of seeing Batman's origin story, Superman's origin stories, and Spider-Man's origin stories. He's like, I never want to see any of those three stories told on screen ever again. Which is just like, I mean, hey, they're the big heroes, and we know those stories to death. You know?
And I think like the audiences are so just used to comic book stories now. We don't need explanations of how these things could come together, right?
And also one of the things that I will argue the DC does well. You know, like, again, I watched a lot of Arrow. I mean, it ran for 873 seasons, is what it felt like. But I watched, like, at least the first 6, I'll say, in tandem with The Flash. And, you know, before that, it was like, oh, Oliver Queen, another sort of, like, millionaire. You know, I wasn't following his comic stories a lot. And they milked 9,733 seasons out of this one lesser known character of you know, Oliver, and that was great. That was like, hey, what if he like went to an island and got all crazy jacked?
And the DCU is gonna have Peacemaker part of it, right? And Peacemaker in his show was referencing like D-tier Batman villains and stuff. He was almost like Deadpool, where he was like, I know everything about this world. So we have to assume most people do. So it'll be something to look at as the show goes on.
And kind of to like wrap it up there before moving on, like he was saying that like the tone of Peacemaker is so different than the tone of Superman, right? Like and just like how they approach the worlds, right? Like Peacemaker is going to be talking about like celebrities and knowing all these people, right? Whereas like Superman is just like this hopeful kind of beacon type thing. And he's like, and I want these different approaches. Like these worlds don't have to look the same, and anyone can like have any, you know, a take on it, and it can still be the same place, right? And it can still be the same thing.
Is Superman gonna have as much sex as Peacemaker does? That's what I want to know. Let's talk about some of the interesting shots in the upcoming on this season on trailer that was at the end of these 2 episodes. Let's take a quick look at it. Okay.
You don't understand what you've done.
Beautiful.
I love a good Doom the World.
Yeah.
Love a good
Doom!
Do you think that's like how important this show is gonna be? Do you think the creature commandos will have Doom the world?
I mean, possibly if they're supposed to be like kind of the fuck ups, right?
Yeah,
Maybe.
that is sort of like in the Suicide Squad, right? Like it was a giant starfish
Yeah.
that was
Big kaiju,
maybe wouldn't have taken out the whole world. If
Whoa,
it
whoa,
was
whoa!
like
Starro would have taken over the whole world. Let's not side with Starro on this one, okay?
Starro.
Yeah, you love it till there's a little starfish on your face.
Oh God.
Yeah. So one of the most like jarring moments in that, it was really quick, right? Circe saying, "I will show you the future," and we see this shot of a crucified Superman. Oh,
Is he
no.
crucified or speared through?
I think he was like hung up on something. I think we have a shot of it. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
See?
He is
that's a
crucified.
crucifixion.
Yeah.
That's a traditional Roman crucifixion.
It
Yeah,
kind of looks
yeah.
like there's a couple people dead behind him. That
Yeah,
looks
is
like
that Circe back there?
Yeah.
Or no, is
we
that
don't know.
Starfire?
I was thinking it was maybe Starfire. I initially thought maybe it was like Hawkwoman because Hawkwoman's been cast, but
Oh, okay.
you
Oh,
know that's
no,
hair. It's
she's-
not a
yeah,
wig.
yeah.
So I was like,
I
is
think
it
it's
Starfire? Is it
Psylocke.
Circe? Is it Psylocke? Yeah,
They brought her
They're
over.
crossing over.
Yeah. They're
He
like,
said, Olivia Munn,
can
take
we
the
borrow-
character away from Marvel and come
Can we
here.
borrow Psylocke just
Yeah.
to kill her for a second?
There is also a shot of dead Peacemaker.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah,
Peacemaker.
Yeah, really blink and you miss a shot. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
this is kind of insane, right?
Yeah, this is like when Tony Stark sees all the Avengers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe our first look at Superman in the DCU.
Yeah.
Hung up on a cross. Yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, Superman has always been a Jesus allegory.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So that is the most appropriate way to kill
Jesus
him.
is an alien, it's true.
Jesus alien confirmed?
So do we think this is like, is this like a nightmare? Is this a jump to the future? And is this what we're leading to in the DCU?
No, I think this is one of those like, hey, if you questionable moral people do X, Y, and Z, this is what will happen.
Oh, okay.
And I think them being questionable moral people would be like, I don't give a crap.
Yeah, if they're
and they
villains.
do it anyway. And then she's like, well, you just brought upon Doom.
Yeah.
That's what I hope it is. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's because it seems like Circe is being cast as like a villain of the series, a villain for the villains.
I mean, we know the real villain is that princess.
Well, it's Amanda Waller is the constant villain, right?
She's not allowed to make these task forces anymore. Come on.
She's got to find a loophole.
Yeah.
I don't trust the princess at all. She's at the top of my don't
She's
trust
been drugging
list.
her mom. Or
Yeah,
whoever
or
that
whoever
lady
that
is.
lady
to her.
Yeah, I mean Eric pointed out in the breakdown too that like the castle's very opulent and like
Yeah.
rich and gilded, and the whole city below, it doesn't look like a mess, but as they're driving through, like Nina looks out the car and sees,
Rubble.
sex
Yeah.
workers on the street and stuff.
Yeah.
And-
Wealth inequality.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you've got this military with these like armored suits and stuff. Like, where's all this money going?
Yeah.
They're like a mineral-rich country. I think that's what Amanda Waller says.
Yeah.
We saw like the price of the gasoline there was very cheap, so that maybe
Yeah, they
their
have all the oil, right? Like that's
yeah.
that's literally what the conflict is. It's like America wants the oil, and so they got to protect the princess from Circe because like we got to keep the trade up. You know, that's.
I mean,
as simple
should we
as
allow
it
this
is.
monarchy to exist? I mean, do they have a representative government at all?
Yeah.
Is it just a monarchy?
Yeah, I mean, but like, is
Evan, are you pro-monarchy?
Listen, I'm trying to sign stuff.
Evan likes a strong
Have you been
woman.
talking to King Charles behind our back? Uh-oh.
Charles, I said, I'm gonna call you back. Man.
How
I'm gonna
many-
call you back.
how
Yeah.
many
On
months-
the show.
Big Chuck, stop calling Evan.
How many months has King Charles subscribed to the Breakroom? That's right.
Chuck, give us a super shout out. What
Yeah,
are
yeah,
they?
yeah.
A super
Yeah, King
punch.
Charles, super chat him, please.
We must push it forward. We must speak to the people on YouTube.
I wonder, like, if if Circe like is like, this is what I'm gonna show you the future,
Yeah.
right? Like how it like if this thing is all about oil, how does it end up potentially with killing
Yeah.
Superman or
Listen,
crucifying
I
Superman?
can figure out any path to kill Superman. You're like, don't order that turkey sandwich. Let me show you what happens if you do.
Yeah.
Dead Superman. And I'm like, I really want a turkey sandwich, though. I can figure out his way to get from A to Z.
I snuck kryptonite in the lettuce.
I'll never see it coming.
It's green.
Smart, man. You're thinking ahead. And it's like this a future that's unavoidable? Is it like every
No future is unavoidable,
Whoa,
Brandon.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Eventually, the sun will burn out. You can't stop it. Like
That's
it is
true. I can't wait.
The universe is entropy. It is decay. It is inevitable.
And I guess another thing is like, James Gunn really wants these he's like these stories need to like, stand alone. And we're like not building for a big bad. We're telling we're building a world, right? So even if this vision is like, if it's just contained to the creature commandos or if it's not, it feels like, you think we get an answer by the end of the series or
I think maybe this will be like the we don't get an answer, but like whatever happens in season 1 will be like, now you've destroyed these people, and then that'll be like a future season problem.
Yeah.
Or maybe maybe it's not the real Superman. Maybe it's all those Hollywood actors that are on those polls.
Oh, it was
And they're like, you vastly overestimated the importance of this.
Yeah.
But Sans Times Square of just actors.
Yeah, there's like Elmo back there,
Yeah.
like and just like a little janky Pikachu.
This is like Kubrick like faking the moon landing, basically.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
Circe's like, oh, this could happen, and she just hired a bunch of extras from Central
Casting.
Casting.
Spirit Halloween empty bags behind her.
Yeah. I mean, again, like James Gunn wrote this kind of before the new DCU was set. I'm sure if this show takes off and is very popular, we'll see more of it. They might lean this way.
Make it popular, people. Make it popular.
But I hope that, he's not trying to make a whole kind of MCU replica here with like building towards one big bad with all these different stories. I would love for these different stories to have their separate things, get everything established, and then if we want to start mixing them together, let's do it that way. I'd like to see, that's one thing that annoys me about the MCU is that tonally a lot of the movies can feel very similar. Every now and then you get something like Shang-Chi that feels very different, or even like...
And then people complain.
Yeah, well, I liked it. Even like, to James Gunn's credit, when Guardians came out, it felt a lot different than the other MCU movies.
Hell yeah.
But then that kind of set the standard for how the cosmic side of Marvel looked, and everything's had to copy that. I would love it if all of these shows and movies felt very different from each other, and at one point they start kind of crossing over. That's fine.
Yeah,
but like,
same.
I say go for whatever fits the narrative of the story you want to tell best, and don't worry about being like, everyone's fighting Circe in each thing I'm doing.
Well, I think that's why they started with this. I think that it's relatively low stakes in the world of... so I can't imagine that any like big bad villain from this will cross over into the movies. I think one of the reasons you start with something like this is because like people don't have a lot of connection to the characters, so they're not going to be like, actually,
I think you are underestimating the actuallys online.
That's true. I perpetually do.
Dr. Phosphorus stands are going to be pissed.
His green should be greener. No, like I think like you start with something like this because it is low stakes connective tissue to the rest of it. You can keep what people like. You can discard what people hate. I think it's actually a smart move.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like not knowing these characters super well, I think is like a great point, right? You want to just experience this for what it is. So yeah, well, I mean, and also like from a marketing perspective, right? To open that coming up on the season with a shot of a dead Superman,
very smart.
Is like, well, this is why maybe you should be checking in, but maybe he doesn't have that much.
Yeah.
Do you think Corn Sweat saw that and was like, oh no? I thought I was going to get a franchise.
They took a picture of him on set. They're like, all right, hold your arms up like this.
Why am I doing this, James? James?
You gotta look the same in live action and animation. You have to look the same.
He's
you
like,
didn't know how your hair is gonna fall.
James, I haven't got the contract for that second Superman movie yet. Is that coming anytime soon? James?
This is what the new Superman sounds like.
Yeah. Mom, did I get any mail? Did I get any mail from James Gunn, Mom?
Do I look different enough without my glasses? Are people gonna recognize me?
What if I hunch over like this, Mom? This is Clark. This is Superman. This is Clark. This is Superman. Dad, get away from that tornado. No. I can't, Dad.
I really hope James Gunn kills off Pocket in a tornado just to piss everyone off again. Wouldn't that be so good?
Oh, God.
Costner comes back? Maybe. I don't know.
I have some questions.
Yeah, let's get some questions.
from the chat.
I mean, you don't want to keep doing this bit for
It's a
the
good
next
bit.
2 hours?
Hey, keep doing sneaking in.
It's a good bet.
I am Iron Man 10 on Twitch asking if y'all had to choose one, who would you want to return Idris Elba's Bloodsport from the Suicide Squad or King Shark?
Oh man, oh god, I'm such a big King Shark fan. But Stallone recently took a heel turn in real life, so which crushed my Italian mother's little heart. So I'm gonna go with Idris Elba.
I mean, Idris Elba's incredible. I really liked his Bloodsport character.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of generic, but that's fun.
And they like call a lot of attention to it.
I
too.
really
They're
do
like,
love King Shark though.
Yeah, King Shark's great, but I think that's a very generic foil or generic, funny, humorous
archetype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll find a fun way to do it.
I mean, do you think we see any of the Suicide Squad people in here? I mean, I think a lot of them, like, I'm trying to remember the ending completely, but I think a lot of the ones who survived got released, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, maybe Waller's like, I gotta bring in a ringer or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, King Shark would make sense because he's not human, right? You have to think about like the non-human ones that they could use.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love, don't bring Bloodsport back on this show, bring him back in live action. That's what I would
Yeah.
Have him show up on Peacemaker or have him show up in this new Superman movie. Take a shot at Superman. Why not?
Yeah, that's true. My vote is for I think King Shark feels right. Yeah. But hey, get Bloodsport back in the
get him back in the saddle.
Get Idris back. He's doing Knuckles. Come on, he can do Bloodsport. Kobe-Wan Kenobi asking, do you think Frankenstein is eventually going to join the team as an official member, or will he kind of just be chasing the bride all season?
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. He's gotta have a moment where he's like, oh crap, am I the problem?
I don't think he'll ever have that moment. He's had 100 years to figure it out.
Yeah. And also, like, we've kind of seen the bride, I guess, we see a lot more of her growth, right? We see her literal birth, and now she's just kind of like, I'm in jail, but I don't care. Like they tell me to jump, I say how high, and we just go, right?
Yeah, she's not afraid to kill some people. She doesn't care.
Yeah.
But we don't know what his growth, if any, has been over all these years.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like he was finding ways to make money. He's got a series of odd jobs.
I guess he's like a crime boss, maybe, or like.
What if he has no powers? He just has a bunch of lackeys.
I guess if you're like a rich dude and you own a yacht and Eric Frankenstein shows up, you're like, I'm not gonna kick this guy off, I guess.
Oh, you don't think that was his own yacht?
No, I think he walked up to some rich dude's yacht and snapped him in half, and he's like, my yacht now.
Wow. I think he worked hard over a series of many years and made smart financial decisions.
No. Frankenstein dumb. Frankenstein don't make smart decisions.
He's got to at some point.
I guess if he was like, he could have simply put his money into some like, stocks in the 1800s and just let it sit.
Yeah.
And he would have done just fine. Or even just a nice savings account with like a
you have a savings account for enough
good
time.
Compound interest. 100 years, you're doing all right. You're doing all right.
He just goes to the bank once a year and is like, hey, still alive. Keep my money.
Yeah.
Keep my money fresh.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does join the team at some point, just because I assumed he would already be on the team, just because in the comics he's been a part of Creature Commandos. Yeah. And I believe in the more recent iteration that had both him and the bride on the same team. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of surprised to see them at odds. I like that kind of setup.
Yeah.
But I bet he's on the team by the end of it, right? Because he was on that team. He was on Shade, which was another kind of like monster group that they had in DC Comics.
Yeah.
Run by Father Time.
Yeah. I mean, he's been paying this little old woman for however many years to keep an eye out on the house. He's got to be paying her in something.
Oh, she doesn't cost much. A bucket of borscht every month and she's covered.
Oh,
Brandon Rust 88 was asking, "What's our beat me in the script? What's your favorite character to debut this week?" And we also have Coy Jondro in the chat. Hello, Coy. Catch Coy on the DC Studios Showcase. Congrats, Coy.
Is Coy watching? He's gonna rat us out to James Gunn. Coy, we love this show. Say nice things about us, please.
Just tell us. Does Superman die?
Coy, tell James Gunn he doesn't need to write every episode of a TV show. He could hire some other writers who happen to be both Animation Guild and WGA. Yeah. I don't know. I might have someone's resume lying around.
But Coy also asking, who's your favorite Creature Commander so far? He's saying he's a Phosphorus Man himself or Rick Flag Sr. I think both of them, like, we haven't spent a lot of, Weasel Doesn't Talk. And we haven't
I'm
spent
not
a lot
gonna
of
pick
time
Weasel.
With,
I
all
will
the
not
other
pick
ones.
Weasel as my favorite.
Because of my aforementioned love, I'm going Dr. Phosphorus. I
Alan
could
Tudyk,
watch Alan
genius.
Tudyk read the phone book, and I'd be like, this is the greatest character I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I like The Bride a lot.
I do, yeah. Bride, right up there.
The Bride is tons of fun
Yeah.
and like very cool. I mean, Rick Flag has a tough position because they have to play the kind of like straight man character of like, kind of like Rick Flag Jr., right?
Yeah, well, that's true.
They don't
Yeah.
get to have as much fun, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't get all the jokes. They don't get a lot of the quips.
Yeah.
They're trying to play it straight, but The Bride blew me away. I'm
I do.
super stoked to see
Yeah.
more about that character.
I'm excited to find out more about Nina because there's a really interesting line
Yeah.
that the bride has where she's like, you're human. And she's like, no, I'm
Right,
not. She's
right.
like, no, come on, stop kidding. You're not a monster. We're all monsters.
Yeah.
You're human. And she clearly doesn't look
No.
human. So what's going on here? And
Yeah.
also, I mean, Rick Flag said it best. What use is she with a fishbowl on her head?
I did like
Yeah.
then there's a line like wherever we go there'll be like a river or something like that. There's a great this happens a lot in these kind of there was a great old cartoon called The Centurions, which was about like these people and they get like parts put onto them and there was like the sky guy, like he's Max Ace and
Yeah.
he flies everywhere, and then there's like Johnny Dirt and he's like he gets tank parts, and there was like Richard Ray or something like that, and he was the water guy. It was like every episode they had to find a way that there was like a river or like a
Yeah.
water entrance to something. I mean,
They
it is
make fun
funny.
of that on the boys,
Yeah.
basically. Every
Yeah,
time
with the
they send-
deep,
yeah.
right?
Every time they send the
Yeah.
deep on a mission, he's like, "Come on, like
Yeah.
there's got to be like a body of water. Or, like, what
Yeah.
am I doing there?"
But I did like that moment when they first get to Pocolistan and they're eating dinner, and like there's a little hole in like Nina's
Yeah.
water helmet that she stuck the broccoli in, and it like
Oh,
floats
yeah,
up to
yeah.
her mouth.
Yeah.
Like that's very fun. But yes, she does not look human, so I don't know her history as much in the comics.
Yeah, me neither.
I know.
Says your dad is a scientist. I bet he had a daughter and
Well-
sliced her with fish DNA.
Oh, there you go. Or Alan Tudyk's playing her father in the show too.
Oh, give
That
Alan
was-
Tudyk
that was in the
all
Wikipedia.
What
Give
can
him
he
all
not
the roles.
do? Well, we're excited to keep watching along
Yeah.
for the show. We're gonna see if we talk about it week to week, but we'll for sure be talking about it
Right.
in the mid-season as well as the finale. It's kind of how we've been breaking apart some other shows as we think about all the how we cover things on the break room, and there's a lot going on, especially
Yeah.
next year. So we
Yeah.
gotta
Also
practice some
depends
good
on how
habits.
many angry comments you guys send us about
The
how
more
you
the
didn't
better.
like this. Please stop talking about DC. Why does Gina own so many weird sweatshirts? What size are her feet?
Gina, I'm
keep
sorry I
sending me
keep
those
commenting on
messages,
your videos. I just want to know the size of your
Ask about
feet.
Gina's feet. But that's it for us today. Let us know if you're watching Creature Commandos. Let us know all your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel on YouTube and give us a follow on Twitch where we do videos like this live. You can follow us, Breakroom NR, on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, all the places.
All the
All of
places.
them.
All the places.
Yeah, subscribe if you're not subscribed to the YouTube
Subscribe if
channel.
you're
We're so
not
close to 100K.
Yeah, we hit
Hot
100
sauce in the butt.
hot sauce
my
in the.
gosh.
I don't think we can
They
show
just
that.
tuned in for the
You
end
can't
of
show
that.
the act. You could show the aftermath.
You could show Evan in the hospital.
Sir, why did you do this? 100,000
subscribers.
subscribers.
I made a promise.
Let's get some butt-shaped ice cubes over here, please.
I can't believe I'd have to go commando and then I'd be a creature after that.
Oh no. We've gone too long.
All right, everybody, we'll catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
I was really trying to make that link. And
I
I
really
was-
tried very hard.
All right, so we're still live on YouTube. Brandon Russ was like, Terrence Leverett sent in a super chat before. Will you all ever cover anime? The show. Dan did not. I've said it wrong multiple times because multiple people have recommended it to me.
Okay.
Anime is hard for us to cover. There's obviously a lot of it in general, and the copyright laws with Japanese companies are a little bit different. But I mean, perhaps one day. Nothing's out of the question.
What platform is it
Yeah.
on?
What
I've never
platform
heard of
is it
this
on?
show.
I will say,
You just earned yourself an enemy.
I know.
I was gonna
Also-
reference anime before, and I forgot what we were
Like,
talking about.
just for a peek behind the curtain, every single day people are like, cover this, cover that, please cover this, please cover that. We obviously can't cover everything.
Yeah.
So it totally depends on what the highest number of you guys want.
Yeah, sometimes-
If a lot of people start clamoring for us to do anime, we would do anime.
Standing Evan?
I mean, whenever I think about what we might cover, I just hear Jessica's voice in my head saying, will it get us all those little clickies? And sometimes it's just about, hey, little clickies.
For years people were asking for Doctor Who, and then we did those 3 Doctor Who breakdowns, and no one watched them.
I don't know what this Wii business is. I stayed out of that.
I did them. And then you guys all said, Doctor Who?
Question mark?
Also, the other half of Brandon Russ 88's question, favorite new creature to debut this week, and why is it Neil? I mean, hey, Neil could never make it in the Creature Commandos, but he's great.
He'd be
Neil
the
stole our
heart and soul
hearts.
of the Creature Commandos.
He would die
Sure.
immediately. He would not survive a second in
They would
Polls.
protect him with their like, form a protective circle around Neil.
That's true. He's just a baby.
They're going after Neil now.
Let's see. Oh, and people were asking about the Superman trailer, rumors that it comes out in 2 weeks. Hey, who's to say?
Yeah.
It's on James Gunn's hard drive. We've been using that line a lot here.
That's
in
what
the
he
office.
said.
He said it's on the hard drive,
Yeah.
I mean, there is CCXP this weekend in
Brazilian Comic-Con
kicking off
effectively.
right now, I believe.
now,
So
yeah.
it's possible anything could come out from there this weekend.
Yeah.
We already got like another look at Captain America Brave New World, but that was from like a Microsoft ad or something. So there could be some stuff this weekend. I don't know.
Gina shared a new Invincible poster, and they said
baby.
They said more news to come this weekend. So maybe a new Invincible season 3 trailer.
I wonder if Superman, if they want to surprise everybody, or if they're going to do something like tomorrow at 9 p.m. We get both of those, right? Sometimes we just get surprise trailers.
Yeah.
But I
they
think
gotta hack into the feed and show it to everyone on Earth at the same time.
I would think that Warner Brothers would want to get everyone seated for this and let them know it's coming and get like a big reveal at once.
I don't know. It's a brave new world. I don't know how anyone markets anything anymore. It's like literally like I'll be on Deadline or on Twitter or something. I'll be like, oh, this thing just happened, I guess.
They're gonna get Charlie XCX to say Superman is Brat.
Oh my god!
She's gonna reveal that the green was Krypton all along.
Oh my god!
Oh,
no,
God.
Lex Luthor is Brat. If it's green, right? Yeah.
Okay, Lex Luthor's
Yeah.
Brat.
That's true.
Are they
Brat,
gonna
and
have?
it's
Do you
the
think
same.
Lex Luthor will appear in the first?
In the next Brat remix.
Well, we know he's gonna be in the movie, I guess. I wonder if he's gonna be like
The main villain,
anywhere
or if
else.
he's gonna
Do you
Yeah,
want
that's
Lex
a good-
Luthor as like the main villain starting off Superman?
Do
we start with that?
I could see a world where it's not him, but then at the end, like someone's like, excuse me, Mr. Lex, I have your mail here," and you just hear like a buzzing sound as he.
I was gonna
buzzes
say,
his head.
Mr. Lex, I have all your razors. Whoops. Because your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man comes out in
Yeah.
January,
Yeah.
and we know in that one it starts off with like kind of Peter and Norman Osborn being working together.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I don't know. I'm interested in like a Superman story where like Lex Luthor is aligned with Superman.
Yeah.
And is like,
Ooh, yeah.
But that was
he's
always-
trying to convince Metropolis to accept this alien.
Yeah.
And then something happens. Maybe
Yeah.
Superman
A
accidentally lasers his kid in
Dumbledore
half
and
or something.
Grindelwald type situation,
Ooh,
maybe.
they fall in love.
Yeah, and then Grindelwald ends up in
Superman
a weird...
takes Lex to the Fortress of Solitude.
I cannot imagine anything that would get Snyder fans more riled up than that. That would be insane.
That'd be insane. Nice Lex Luthor.
Nice Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I like that.
No longer Brat.
I'm into it.
Oh my god. Well, thanks everyone for watching. We'll, we're gonna be following along CCXP this weekend. We'll probably do some type of headlines recap show on Monday, so stay tuned for that as we kind of, skeleton crew again next week. We'll see what next episode of Creature Commandos brings. If it's really big, maybe we'll hop back on. And otherwise, we're recording lots of fun stuff. Gina, Brandon, and I recorded something to release over the holidays.
Yeah.
So, stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
we
don't
make
worry,
a
you
lot
all-
of references to December whenever we shot it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
December to Remember car sales event.
Yeah. Oh, and Craven next week. Who could forget?
Who could
Yeah.
forget? Ah,
A very Craven
Craven
Christmas coming to you.
Oi, bruv. We all know you loved the footage we showed at New York Comic Con. So here's 8 minutes of Craven.
Getting closer. Did you see the
closer.
clip today? I got it recommended. Someone went around dressed as Kraven at some comic convention recently and clipped a bunch of stuff onto them as if they were like hunting them, I guess. But then I think
like
those
tags?
people got like a special thing because they tagged. They're like at these usernames. If you got clipped, like come find us or whatever. Yeah.
I'm intrigued by Kraven. Evan and I did a break room earlier this week looking at the first 8 minutes of all the Spumsy. I think Kraven did a pretty good job with the first 8 minutes. I'm intrigued. I want to see more of his cute little running on the ground.
I want to see him holding himself by nothing, right? To open up.
Just incredible strength. I am, this seems like the end of what was the Spumsy, the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel.
Marvel.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
The
Sony Picture Universe of Marvel characters.
Marvel
yes.
characters.
Yeah.
And it's going away. And it's shades of Aquaman 2 where they're just like, they delayed this movie a year. They're putting it out. Word on the street is there's no post-credit.
Yeah.
That Aaron
I don't
Taylor
know.
Johnson, he can't catch a break, man.
I mean, come on. He got in such shape for this movie 3 years ago.
He hasn't eaten a sandwich.
I mean, if this movie ends with like just full-on Spider-Man at the end of the movie, I'll freak out.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, that's it. We're done.
I mean, like at least $500 million, not $1 billion. But
wouldn't that be
it's
crazy, though?
certainly,
And then
like,
he'll be like, bet you didn't see that one coming, huh?
Bet you didn't think I'd catch the Spider-Man, but I did.
And then it's like, wait, is he Quicksilver? Is he Kraven? Is he Ralph Boner somehow?
I mean, if he spends the whole movie like fighting rhinoceros or rhino, and then it's over, and then at the very end, he just catches a fully dressed Spider-Man in New York City and cuts his head off, and you're like, he was there the whole time, and we never showed him. Venom never got to fight him. Madam Web never found him. Morbius flew right by him, and you didn't get to see it, suckers.
is there another actor that was supposed to be, or like was in the running for Spider-Man that he could do that to? That there was it's another alternate universe Spider-Man.
Just throw
Timothy Chalamet.
Chalamet in
I was
there.
gonna say.
And right before he kills him, he just says, "A complete unknown out in theaters on Christmas."
Half the olds will be like,
Yeah.
isn't that the same kid?
And Bob
Is
Dylan
Timothy
Bob
Chalamet?
Dylan's like, I think he'd make a great Spider-Man, man. He's gonna do a good job as me, and he'll be a great Spider-Man.
Is he different than the small guy?
I say they reveal Ben Mendelsohn as Spider-Man.
Which one of them was Dune?
Yeah, I saw that Doom
Really,
movie,
really
man.
stuck on that one.
I saw that Doom movie, man. And I think Timothy's gonna be a great job playing me.
Maybe an earlier me, maybe a different me entirely. Whatever.
Which one of them dates Zendaya?
Bob Dylan said that about Chalamet. He has not seen the movie, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. He can't.
He was just like, oh, you cast a beautiful young man to play me? I think that's a great idea.
Listen, I'm just happy Bob Dylan's still alive.
Hey, while I'm at it, buy a Cadillac, guys. Come on.
That's a deep cut for you guys. Evan doesn't get it.
Yeah, the viewers are they're like, all right.
They're leaving.
They've turned on us. They've turned on us.
They only like Austin Butler impressions. Yeah. I'm not doing it.
Berg is over there loading his gun, being like, guys?
Yeah. Evan said 1 hour. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll catch you Monday.
Have
See
a
you
good
later.
weekend.